Small one tonight. Any questions, anyone? Karma night. I thought there would have been a lot of questions tonight. It would have been a karma night. I'll share a little insight that I've had, but I'll let any questions come out because
I've got a question, Nick.
here we go. The big man, big guns.
Karma in the jobs that people do.
Yep.
And maybe be specific in what.
Right, like let's just the first one that pops to mind is like the people that sit in the car, the flash for cashes, you know, for getting people for speeding. Like in my mind, they're causing hardship and suffering to those people that might be only doing a couple of kilometres over the speed limit, and they're sitting in that car. Obviously, they're told that they're doing everybody a favour by slowing people down, but we all know it's about revenue. And I just wonder what karma does that pose to the person sitting in that car, okaying each one of those speeding fines?
But it would be job and that was demolishing houses.
Yeah, it's a good question. Like in the Eightfold Path, right livelihood is one. But also in the Buddhist tradition, they talk about how if you're a true practitioner of the Dharma, or let's say you're an enlightened master, you should be able to give somebody a parking ticket and enlighten them. So if somebody's sitting in a car just really excited about pinging people because he's thinking about himself, remember the way of the Bodhisattva, put very simple, all suffering is due to actions focused on ourselves in the past, and all blessing is due to actions where we focus on others in the past. So if someone's sitting there pinging people thinking, I'm going to make my quota, these idiots are going too fast, and actually getting a kick out of it for whatever reason, we have to see their suffering to think like that. Like, what are they going through to actually get a kick out of that? But at the same time, that's a pretty selfish approach to the job. But you know, okay, yeah, you took that's okay. But there's also an aspect of somebody who's got to feed their family, and they might be praying everyone stays below the speed limit because they just need a job and they don't want to ping anybody. We really don't know what they're going through. You know, my job, I consider, like when I'm talking about window cleaning, I like my job. Like it definitely, I meet some lovely people. I definitely make houses feel nice and more open. But I still sometimes kill insects, you know what I mean? And that makes me sad. I still chant for them and all the rest of it. I get it, you know. But there's positives and negatives to everything. It's all about intention, really. I don't know whether I've answered that very good, but it all depends on the person, really. You know, I remember once. Yeah. I remember once, I'll just share this. I remember I was driving once, and there was, I don't know whether somebody pulled out in front of me or they slammed on for no reason at all. And I like complained because I nearly hit them, or I complained they were going too slow, or something like that. And Danielle said, you never know. Sorry, there's a party going on here. You never know. Their soul might be slowing us down as a service. You get me? So again, it comes down to our perspective as well. You know, if we're complaining about speed cameras and we're complaining about people who are giving us police officers and all the rest of it, right? Because we think they're not doing a good job, or they haven't got a nice livelihood, and we think they're bad people, but we don't actually know what they're thinking. we will manifest more of that. We'll see more of them, because we're, you know, it's like when you're late for work, you hit every red light if it's stressing you out. You know what I mean? So really, one thing that has been a really game changer for me over the past maybe 18 months, and I know everyone knows this teaching, but is gratitude. It's just being grateful no matter what. Like, even when I got arrested over the lockdowns, that whole situation, I ended up getting 2 convictions for that. And it cost me just over $2,000, which I didn't have. But I learned a lot for it, and I'm very grateful for it. And I actually built, I feel, a good relationship with the police officer that arrested me. If I seen him again, I'd definitely go over to him and have a chat to him. And I think that whether he just continues to do what he does, I definitely felt like I planted some seeds in him as well. Not that I was trying to, but I was definitely, I don't know. I tried to make the most of that situation. I didn't enjoy that. I'd be lying if I said I enjoyed that situation. And I definitely was over going to court. Like, I went to court so many times, I challenged so many things, and I really saw how that court system works. But I was very grateful for the experience. And, you know, Master Shah says grateful period. I think, like, just the fact that, you know, at the moment we're in a temporary living place. We've been in a temporary living place for nearly 2 years now. And, you know, the family can get overwhelmed sometimes, but I'm just grateful we've got a roof over our head. It is a game changer when you're grateful for just being alive and just being able to experience whatever's put in front of you. And in A New Earth, Eckhart Tolle talks about J. Krishnamurti's story. And he said, and I think I might have shared this with you, but he said J. Krishnamurti had a massive following, and towards the end of his life, when he was older, he said, I'm going to share the essence of my teaching with my students. And he said there was hundreds of people, possibly thousands of people. There was a massive gathering. And he said, I don't mind what happens. And when Eckhart tells the story, he says, I think a lot of people in there missed the point, because he carried on then just talking. But to sum up his whole teaching is, I don't mind what happens. And it sounds good. I don't say I live like that all the time, but I do my best. And it definitely changes your reality. It definitely, like Danielle always says, nothing bothers Nick. That's not exactly true. Obviously, I'm a human being. I haven't attained anything. I'm just me. But I just try and make the best out of every situation, and just always be grateful. It is a game changer in your life. But thanks for the question, Bruce. Any more questions?
Just got a question about, you've spoken about this before, about killing insects, and I don't kill anything apart from mozzies because it's either them or me. And you know, they love me. They will leave everyone else alone and come to me. And it's when I get bitten, it doesn't just last for a couple of days, it lasts for weeks. And it's horrible. So I've got a zapper in the bedroom. and it's fine now because we don't have them, but I will put that on every night before I come in to try and clear the room. And yeah, it's them or me. So I can't see myself ever not doing that, because otherwise I'm just going to be covered in mozzie bites.
Yeah, it's a fair point what you're saying, but from a Buddhist perspective, like the Dalai Lama says, I've heard him share it multiple times. He says, you know, it's hard to live with bed bugs, for example, right? But how do we do our best to eliminate bed bugs? Through hygiene. Okay, so we keep the place clean. I remember when we used to go to a Guan Yin temple in Sydney when Bo was like 1, and think Bo left something on the floor, and all the nuns there made like a real fuss. Oh, no, 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 you have to clean it up. And I said, I'm so sorry. So I helped them like pick it up. And they said to me, it is a big deal, because if ants come, and it was immaculate, the temple, but if we get ants, then it goes against our precepts. It's a big deal to make a vow to not kill anything and then kill something. In Buddhist tradition, that's massive. There's a hell realm for that. So Master Shah says, if your work or your environment, you kill things accidentally, all you can do is say sorry. But don't forget soul over matter. This is the essence of Master Shah's teaching. So, and my Buddhist teacher said the same thing. You can say, so I'm just going to mute a few people. It's a bit of an echo on my end. You can say, dear whoever you feel connected to, Guan Yin, Amitofu, Buddha, Jesus, please help me to keep the mosquitoes off so I don't have to kill any sentient beings. Do your best to keep them out the room. Speak to the souls, any mosquitoes in the area around me. I don't want to kill you. I speak to them as if you're speaking to me, or you're speaking to your husband in your heart. I don't want to have to kill you. Please do me a favor. Please stay away. I know you're doing your thing. You're trying to, feed your young, whatever it is. You get me? You're trying to survive. I get it, but I'm asking you, please, because there's an acknowledgement there that you don't want to do it, and there's also a warning, and on a soul level, it counts. It means something.
Okay, I have done that. And maybe I need to do it a bit more, but yeah, thank you.
But we still live in the world, there's people I think they're in India. There's like a group of people who spiritual practitioners who wear masks and they don't move, and I don't know, they have like a real strict diet and what have you. So they wear masks so they don't breathe in any insects and kill anything. Okay. But I mean, for me, that doesn't even work, because there's bacteria and things in our breath. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not a practical approach for me. I don't think that's a practical approach. I admire somebody if they're going to dedicate their life to doing that, but I don't think it's a practical approach. I don't think you're living life. Maybe that's what you've come here to do. That's all good. But I think it's all about intention, Jules. Do you know what I mean? It's all about intention. And also, just whenever it is, just try and detach from the idea of the story behind it. So next time you're going to bed, change the story from, oh, I hope there's no mosquitoes, they're going to bite me and I'll be itchy for weeks, to just breathing properly. You know what I mean? And just try going to bed without any, even if you hear a mozzie, you just see how it goes. It's all training, you see. There's a famous monk called Ajahn Chah. He was a Thai monk. He's a beautiful monk. And he had malaria for most of his life. Now, I've never had malaria, but malaria is meant to be ruthless. Do you know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying go to that extreme, Jules, but I'm just saying it is pretty like powerful when you think about just drawing a line in the sand, where because you're aligning with a greater power. Even if you get munched and you get really itchy, if there's no complaint there, that could be a test you've got to go through in this life, and you might get past it. They might not bother you, then they might just keep getting your husband.
No, they don't touch him. They do not touch him. They do not touch anyone else if I'm there.
Well, what a selfless practice that is, taking to the front.
I was just, the way you described your story, Jules, I was thinking how much of that is reinforcing and manifesting. It's like, I'm going to be late. I'm going to hit all the red traffic lights. Like Nicholas said. So Just sending you some Aussie free vibes.
You
I
sure?
have, yeah, I have tried this in the past. I have done that because I've done other stuff apart from, you know, what we're doing here, and that was suggested, and for weeks and weeks, but they still find me.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat, Jules, with
Ah.
mozzies and fleas. And I had someone staying with me at one stage and got infested with fleas.
Ah,
And I tried the go away, I don't want to kill you. It didn't work, but it has worked with ants with me. I got an infestation of ants at one stage. And for about 2 days, I was constantly talking to them and asking them to please find somewhere else. And by the 3rd day, they went. So, yeah, worked with one species, but not the other.
But again, it's intention and what's practical. So like, if you have an infestation of something and it's not your fault, there's a karmic reason there, but it depends how conscious you are in the act. Dear God, please forgive me, or dear Buddha, please forgive me. I can't live like this. I've got to do this. Any souls that I kill, I'm giving you a chance to go first. If you don't go, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to do something about it. And if you do have to bomb the house, you have to do whatever you do. You chant for them. I tell you, probably the most violent practice that I have to do in my daily life is gardening. I like, at the moment where we live, there's 10 acres that it's like a rainforest where we live. Okay? It literally grows behind you as you cut it. And and where, you know, some of the weeds and that, I've got like a like on the whippersnipper, I've got like, it's called a weed whacker. So it's not even using string, it's using like a metal brush cutter type thing. Yeah, pretty hardcore. So I just always invoke all my shifus and that, and I said, please help as many insects as possible. I apologize for any insects and even plants that I'm harming. And then I'll just chop through them. At the end of whenever I do gardening, I'll sit on the grass, or I'll kneel down, and I'll do a blessing. If I've killed accidentally anything, please, I'll try and send them off. The first thing I hit was a few weeks ago. I haven't hit anything that I've been aware of, and I hit a cane toad, and the poor thing was just, you know, he wasn't dead. That was the thing, and it seriously broke my heart, I'll tell you what. But I just stayed with it. I just turned the machine off and I just stayed with it in the garden, and I was just chanting the Dabejo for it, and because this is another point, the thing with karma, which a lot of people might not get, which is fair enough, is killing things. Okay, like, you know, the way if we see things that are in agony and you put them out of their misery, okay, that is a compassionate act. But in some respects, you are stopping them from exhausting their karma. You get me?
mm,
You might be stopping something that they might have to experience again because you stopped it. That's why this is why there's a beauty in suffering. And in the Buddhist tradition, you don't run from suffering, you face suffering straight on. So this cane toad was dying, but it's always as appropriate. But any like treasures or spiritual shifus that I have, I always say, if it's appropriate, if it's between us and our karma, can you please just help its transition? I'll tell you a story. I was going down the mountain here. This is a few months ago now, and I saw a snake on the side of the road. So I pulled over because I just had a feeling about the snake. And when I jumped out, I didn't run it over. It was just on the road. And when I got to it, it looked like a car had just skinned it. So it was dying. So it's first thing in the morning, I'm going to work. So I turned my car off and I sit there and I did an invocation and I chanted the Dabejo for this snake. And by the time I opened my eyes, it died. I said, oh, thank you so much. And yeah, I give it a send off. I get to my car I literally drove 20 meters down the mountain. And this lizard about this big just runs across. And as I brakes, I thought, oh, it's okay, because it was in the middle of the car. It was not near my tires. But when I went past it, I thought, I just had a feeling to stop. So I stopped to make sure he was okay. And he must have gone under and then turned and went under my tire. So in the space of like 20 seconds, I turned my car off again and starts chanting, you know, the Derby Joe again, and did another blessing for this lizard. And I was just, you know, what you do, what you do, all you can do is the best you can do, as long as there's a consciousness, because we don't actually know the relationship we have with animals like this. We may have a karmic debt where they may be presenting themselves in our life so that when they do have an accident and leave that body, we can help their soul journey. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So how does that look in our life? It just looks like conscious living. You know, if someone serves you up food and it's meat, I appreciate that where it's come from. We've been over blessing the food many times. It's conscious living. It's not, I'm not eating that because that's meat and I'm a vegan. That soul might be going, oh, you could have blessed me. He probably, I'm not even saying it, but you know, you've missed an opportunity to save a sentient being that's in samsara. So it's just about being open and your intention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? What was your question, Nicola, that you put in the chat?
Yeah, so I had trouble formulating the question because I was not, you know, it's still something I'm not understanding, but the illusionary world and the Buddhist view of that, you know, like if everything, you know, like kind of that simulated universe theory, like just, yeah, like I think you shared something recently in one of the post threads about the Buddha who lost his son, and just saying like he was in a beautiful illusion. And I guess I'm just trying to get more of an understanding around that, of this like illusionary world. So if it's illusion, like, you know, we're manifestors and the karma, but you know, like, yeah, I'm not sure if my question is making sense.
Oh no, it is. From a Buddhist perspective, the Buddhists actually said life is this is an illusion. It's like a dream. A beautiful practice that I used to do years ago quite a lot, and it always really put me in a great place, is if you're driving, you're sitting, whatever you're doing, you come to your senses and internally you say, this is a dream. And for me, it was a really unique experience, like nothing else, to be honest with you. Because as soon as I said, this is a dream, all the colors in my vision and my even like my peripheral view would like become more alive. And I would see a broader, rather than just focus on like driving over the Harbour Bridge, I would see, it was like I could see everything. And it felt like I was in a dream, but when you're in control of a dream. And then what Osho shared this once, and Osho said, this is your entry point into dream yoga, because you'll get to a point where when you're asleep and you say, this is a dream, you keep saying it throughout the day, this is a dream. And then you'll get to a point where you'll say it in your dream, and you'll be conscious in your dream. Because he said you in the day you dream with your eyes open, and in the night you dream with your eyes closed. So by acknowledging that it's a dream while your eyes are open, and then acknowledging it's a dream when your eyes are closed, when you're asleep, you're conscious in both. It is a great practice for getting rid of the ego. Because when you realize that, when you do that, I mean, practice that. We'll do it tonight. We'll do it briefly tonight. But when you practice that, well, for me, anyway, my experience with it, you realize it is a dream. Like when you look at the word synchronicity, sync is like one, you know, you sync as one. Chronos is time, so it's one time. Okay, it's the power of the present moment. But you know, when you look at synchronicities, they're fascinating. You know what I mean? You think about somebody's, like when Danielle was pregnant, with Bo, all I saw was I noticed was happy people who were pregnant. You're going to buy a new car, or your friend's buying a new car, you just see that car everywhere. Okay, you know, people might just say, yeah, but that's just because you're aware of it now, maybe. But there's also an element of it where you're bringing it into your awareness. Like literally the other day, I was talking about an all-wheel drive car because I need to get rid of my car and get another car. And I was just telling Danielle, I said, I like this car. I think it'd be good for where we live. And in the space of 150 meters, I saw like 4 of them. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, saying that you're just noticing them is one thing, but if you're only driving up one street, turning right and driving another one, you see like 4 of them, you see one parked up, 2 drive past you, you know, one's going the other way. It's illusory. This reality is illusory. Okay. That's the insight that I got. And I didn't know whether to share it with you guys. So I don't know whether I'm going to articulate it very well, but I was seeing how, in the Buddhist perspective, I've had this analogy, and I've shared it with you before. I've always seen, if you look at a disc, right, like a game, let's say, if you put that disc, it's just a piece of plastic, you put it into a computer game console. When it goes on the screen's flat. The information on the screen is information off the disc. But in the screen, there is depth, time, locations, everything going on, right? Now, you're outside playing, and you can only play the character you are, okay? So even in the game, there's might be other characters playing, but they're only playing through their character. Now, as Master Shah said, your own soul's your biggest blockage. If your character starts going rogue, right, you're going to get pissed off. You're going to put blockages in his way. So if you're a scientist in the game and you try and find the world, the reality you live in, you're not going to find it because it's fundamentally information on a disc. The reason I went down this road thinking like this is because in a game, what do you get? If you meet people in the game, they can give you tools, right, that help you navigate the game. You meet a spiritual teacher like Master Shah, his interaction with the divine, we went over it. Are you familiar with software? That blows my mind. The fact that that was the question that the divine said to Master Shah, and talks about soul software. You read Divine Transformation. Divine Transformation is when we come in, we have our karmic life panned out, right? But because of free will, we still have a choice in that path. Even in that Mara link that Fletcher shared last week, I don't know if anyone watched that, but in that conversation, he says something really interesting about how karma works. He says these spirits that we've heard, for example, they can't directly hurt us. They can only influence our decisions. Okay. And I got a lot from that. I'll leave it at that. But basically, when we're in the game and we might, be destined to die at 50, right? You still can save people and do your best and extend that through offering a lot of selfless service and purifying your karma, changing the information, okay? Changing the information on the disc, using the same analogy. You meet a teacher, and that teacher in the game, let's say, Master Shah in the game is able to give you healing tools so that you can actually help other people in the game. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up again is because if you look at a disc, samsara in the Buddhist tradition, it has no beginning or end, right? So imagine this is a CD. It has no beginning or end. It's fundamentally form as we experience it, feels solid, even though it's information. But it's a cycle, which could be kalpas. They measure in kalpas in Buddhism, which is like massive stretches of time. So we can't trace back the beginning of time. They call it beginningless time because it's a circle. Samsara is a cycle. And the more we cling to it, an analogy the Buddha used is like being tied to a post with a string, and you're constantly chasing something. And he says, we're not talking about a few lifetimes here. We're talking about kalpas, hundreds of thousands of lifetimes doing the same thing. Our desires keeping us here. Now, I don't know if you've watched Santos Bonacci's work, but he's got some fascinating theories about the flat earth and how all is atom, all is atom, because he's big into syncretism, which is all traditions and all languages, all of their words are all the same. It all the same teaching. It all stems from the same thing. And they're all talking about the atom and the sine wave. So you have like a solid plane, and then there's redshift, blue shift, which is this sine wave in existence, and then out of existence, in existence. And then this is used throughout every example. And he says that all the traditions worship God as magnetism. Okay. Now, magnetism is the field that keeps everything, like the sun and the moon, cycling in the illusion. It's the physical world is an expression of this field that he says is magnetism. And yeah, I just got insight into that the disc, the information on the disc is reincarnation. It is constantly being attached to form, which is fundamentally illusory. It's only when we can exist here, because we have to use this to reach enlightenment, and we stop chasing whatever we're after on the string. We stop it. We see it for what it is. We completely detach, and we step off the wheel of samsara. We're not pulled to materialism, which is false. We're not deceived by the illusion anymore. Therefore, we can use it to go beyond to the next layer, the next realm, or whatever. Again, I think I can get that to be clearer. I just need a bit of time to sit on it and meditate on it. Any questions on that? Or it might not have made any sense. I'm sorry if it didn't, but it's
Thank you. No, that did make a lot of sense. I'll re-listen listen to it again on the replay.
if you listen
Yeah,
to
no,
it,
I got a load of that. Thank you.
if you listen to it again, because I need to start. I never watch anything I do, any videos. I never watch these again, but I wouldn't mind watching like the Buddhist one again, the first Buddhist one we did, and I'll watch this little bit of this teaching again, because I'll just see how it sounds, as listening to it, and I'll try and refine it. But if you have any questions, my point is, please just ask them. Any other questions on karma?
Yes, I just was thinking about, sorry, my connection's not very good, I don't think.
Yeah, you were a bit slow before, but you're all right now.
Okay. Just what's your insights about how our intuition is related to our karma? Do you think that is guiding us to clear or heal or release karma, however that works?
Yeah, fundamentally, yes, because Master Shah says, whatever you feel first is your soul, right? And it's usually a gut feeling, okay? So in Taoism, there's 3 brains. You never make a decision with 1 brain. So before you make a decision, Mantak Chi has got a nice practice. You just simply see golden light in the head. Breathe into the head. You see golden light in the heart. You see golden light in the lower dantian. Then you see golden light in the heart. And then you see golden light in the head again. And the more you refine this practice, your 3 minds, because there's upper Dan, middle Dan, and lower Dan in Taoism, 3 minds, 3 brains as one. So when you refine this, you're answering with all 3 minds. So if you're just up here, you might get a gut feeling. They found brain cells in the gut, they found brain cells in the heart. Okay, so your gut feeling, which is your intuition, the more you listen to that, because anything after that is the conscious mind. And the more you go with your first feeling, the stronger you'll build your intuition. Remember, go back to that analogy I've just shared with the computer game. That first feeling of the character in the game is the gamer, what he wants you to do. Because the gamer, the player who's playing the game, can see far more than the character can. The character's on the battlefield. The gamers can see, that'd be good if I got high ground over there, or there's a shop over there I'll go to. Do you know what I mean? So definitely build your intuition. And let's be honest about it. Intuition is never cruel. You know, if you think about it, you never have a good feeling that's strong that wants to hurt anybody. If you've ever wanted to hurt anyone, or you've ever been felt hurt and you felt like you really want to pay someone back, or I can't believe they said that to me, and you start telling stories, it's all here, all in the head. It's never in the gut. The gut is compassionate because it's your soul. And the soul, remember, doesn't want to keep having to reincarnate. It wants to evolve. The mind is what's stuck on samsara, attached to form. The soul is detached from form. The soul is actually not in time and space. That's why intuition is always in the present moment. The soul, like when the Buddha reached enlightenment, in the present moment, he acknowledged that in the illusion, he didn't say simulation, but in the dream, things arise. In the dream, the fact that they rise, they're dependent on everything. They don't exist solely by themselves. They stay in your awareness or existence for a while, and then they disappear, they're impermanent. And while this is happening, the body is in that reality. So the body is doing the same. The body is getting older. It's dying all the time to the past. But the presence of the spirit is not in time and space. That's why when you spend all of your days in time thinking about what you have to do or what's happened in the past, you are fundamentally lost in the dream. You're in a dream which you've got no control over. I hope that makes sense. Any other questions before we do a practice? A great book on karma, in my opinion, because Master Shah's teaching on karma is very different. It's a good book. It's so funny the way he used to flow his older books. I think I've shared this with you. He would literally just book out wherever it was, a hotel room or wherever it was, wherever he was in the world, he'd receive, right, you got to flow a book. He'd have his assistant with him. He'd just sit there for hours. He'd just speak. His assistant would write it out, book, take him a week, right? That book, the Red Book, when that got released, I think it was released around like 2010, 2011. That book apparently took him ages to write because the dark side kept trying to block his flow, his channel. So they didn't want that book coming out. So the difference, there's slightly different approach to karma teaching. If you read a book which I strongly recommend called The Future is Open by Chogyam Trungpa. I think it's called The Future is Open. It's got a cool little name to it underneath that. I can't remember, but it's like a cool little saying to the book. But he's fundamentally saying that we have to be in a state of meditation. We have to be in the present moment, because when causes and conditions from seeds we've planted in the past come to fruition, if we're reactory, if we react to them, we are just pushing them back out again, and they're going to gain more momentum fundamentally. Only in the present moment and conscious, we can observe what's going on, and we can deal with the situation. Master Shah's actually really gone deep into karma. I heard him say once on an advanced retreat, he said, even with some of the masters that he's like listened to and whatever, he said, I don't hear many people sharing karma like he does. And he said some things that have really had me thinking, that are like really interesting. But I'll share something he said on a retreat, right? About the power of getting your karma cleared, right? Yeah, that's it. Good karma, bad karma, and beyond karma. Nice one. Thanks, Jules. He said on a retreat, because he's cleared karma, right? And he's basically drilling home to his students how grateful you should be that you've had that opportunity, right? Because we don't understand the magnitude of that. That doesn't mean we're karma free, but the fact that he's at certain layers of karma that could have saved us lifetimes of effort, right? He shared a story with the Shakyamuni Buddha, the Buddha. Because the Buddha's story was a beggar came to see the Buddha and gave him anything he could. He prepared a meal for him. And it was like a really putrid off pork, I think it was. And the Buddha ate it. And the Buddha ate it because he didn't want to disrespect the guy who was offering it. And he didn't also, was a teaching, because he didn't want, he's no attachment to the body. But Master Shah shared something a bit deeper. He said, that's even the Buddha knew that was clearing some karma. And he was willing to give up his life to clear whatever karma he needed to clear. That's the magnitude of how important it is to clear karma. So, but Master Shah's also said there is, and take this however you want, because I'm not actually going to go into too much detail with this because I don't know it. I'm just going to share what he said. And it's really cool because whenever I speak about Master Shah now, what he said, I'm going to actually use Ananda's technique, right, with the Buddha, because Ananda had like a photographic memory, and he remembered everything the Buddha ever taught. But when he relayed it after the Buddha died, he said, thus I have heard okay? And he's basically saying, this is what I heard to the best of my knowledge. I'm sorry if my mind is adding anything to it, or if it's a humble approach. He's not saying the Buddha said this, okay? He's saying, this is what I heard. I might be putting my own filters on it. I might have got a few words wrong and I'm really sorry, but this is what I heard, okay? So I've heard Master Shah say, not him say it directly, this is what I heard. He said, you have to go deeper into forgiveness. You have to burn Yambao, because some of the souls we've hurt are homeless. They're literally homeless, leave it at that, okay? They're literally suffering on realms, depleted of, and this is not what I heard, this is me adding to that. They're depleted of virtue, okay? Because in his teaching, if there's a movie, it's a very violent movie, and I don't recommend you watch it, but has anyone seen Apocalypto? It's Mel Gibson directed it. It's an international, it's a world movie, and I think it was the first movie that he directed himself. Brilliant movie. I got so much into Master Shah's teaching when I watched that movie, because Master Shah says the reason why there's some beings in heaven who have gone to the dark side, who have a very high soul standing. He said, if you've attained the high level of soul standing for the light side, right? If someone harms you to the point where when you leave the body, you say, I'm going to make a vow to get them back, you go to the dark side, you keep the same position on the dark side, okay? So when you watch Apocalypto, in that movie, there's like a really beautiful tribe of people, Mayans. They're either Mayans or Aztecs, I'm pretty sure they're Mayans. And they live in harmony. That you see them hunting in the beginning, and when they kill an animal, they all sit around the animal, they pray, they say, we admire your agility, your beauty, your grace, and we're sorry you're going to feed our family. They're really living in harmony with nature. And then this other tribe just come and really, like, you know, do terrible things to the family and the tribe and whatever, and they kidnap them. And the movie starts there, but there's a point in the movie where the brother, who's like a big guy, but they're like chained up and they've seen these guys do terrible things to them. He says to his brother, they're both nice people, okay? They're both nice family men. He says to his brother, I don't care about living or dying. I want to take as many of these to hell as I can. Right. And I thought, that's how a good person can literally be hurt enough to go the opposite direction. Do you know what I mean? And so don't go into guilt. But the reason I'm sharing teachings like this, and I realized that Master Shah doesn't waste words. He doesn't share these teachings if they're not important. Every time I watch a movie which might talk about harsh events throughout history, or if I see a documentary where things happened that was before my life, just because this is just what I do know in my heart, I say, if I was a part of that and I created any suffering to do with that, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I don't know whether I shared with you guys the dream that I had, which was an incredible, like really powerful experience. I'm not going to share it now because Bo's next to me, but if you want to hear that, I'll share it another week. But yeah, anyway, any questions on that?
Sorry, because my computer, it's Silvana here. I
Hi,
just
Sil.
wanted to share a similarly like yourself. Can you hear me?
I can. Nice to have you on.
Can you hear me, Nick?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. Sorry, just I'm having some problems here. Yeah, like yourself, like I worked, some of the positions I've had, like even when I was working at the hospital or in government, often I'd say to myself, why am I here? What am I doing here? And in many times, you know, in probably more times than I'd like to admit, I was bullied quite a lot in all of my workplaces. And I just always really have come
Did you
to
say
know-
bullied, Sylvana?
bullied? Yes, I've been bullied quite a lot in my work. In fact, one place I had to leave because my boss thought that, you know, it was a really, no, and I won't even go into it, but it doesn't matter. But the truth is that I'm the common denominator here. So whatever I've done in past lives, I'm sure that I'm purifying in this life. You know, I just take it back to me, because if it's happened more than once, you know, I have to be compassionate and, you know, I needed to pay my dues. That's how I see it. That's how I've come to recognize and release whatever's I've experienced.
Beautiful sharing, because there's a conscious awareness of what's going on. No victim state there. It's consciously understanding what's going on. Another thing why how we can treat things as being a blessing like that is, one, since beginningless time, the Buddha said, if you reflect on it, it is almost without a question that anybody we come in contact with has been our mother and has cared for us, would be willing to give their life for us, you know, wiped our bottoms when we were a baby, would have given their last meal, even if it meant them dying for us, countless times. So if we can look at any being in our life like that, it can keep us compassionate. It's only karma that blocks that. And if we don't help them, who will? As a Buddhist.
Indeed. In fact, my last probably almost 8 years that I was in hospital, my manager, who I always knew, she was a beautiful lady, but, you know, unfortunately victim of the system, and made it very difficult for a lot of people. And it took me, you know, I used to always ask for forgiveness. And she, like I, in the group of girls that left work, I left before them, because, you know, we didn't want to get vaccinated. That was our choice. And now she, you know, she contacts me quite regularly. And often if you haven't done the work, and it's not that she's not able to, she's actually very able to, and she's starting to do the work. She's really going through a lot of suffering. And, you know, it's interesting how you see things and what you need to learn. I can see, respectfully, I can see the lessons that she now needs to learn, and I'm learning them with her. But, you know, the things that felt you thought you were doing something good, or you thought you were just being part of the system, but, you know, there is karma. And I don't know if I've explained that well enough, but, you know, like,
Another thing, thanks for that, Sylvan. Another way that you can look at it as a blessing as well, and again, a Buddhist perspective, is without people like that in our lives, we're not able to practice the Dharma.
that's right.
There's many stories, like even the Buddha's cousin, he tried to kill him when he was younger. They went to war. He ended up being a follower of the Buddha through his whole life, and constantly was like hard work, constantly trying to disrupt the Buddha and do so many different things. And the Buddha said, he's the first one I'm going to enlighten. He's the one that allows me to practice the teachings for everyone else, you know, on a soul level. Milarepa's story is amazing. Milarepa and Marpa, they're from Tibetan lineages. And I heard a beautiful explanation of how they're seen in Tibetan Buddhism. On one level of existence, Milarepa is like a homeless person getting tortured by his master, sitting on a few blades of grass in a cave. And his master, Marpa, is this cruel, cold-hearted teacher who just abuses Milarepa. But on the spiritual plane, one is a Buddha and one is a Buddha's teacher. And the reason why his story is so fascinating is because Milarepa was born into a family, and the family circumstances, I'll make it as quick as short as possible, sum it up. Family circumstances, the father died and they were wealthy. The father put his brother in charge of the wealth. And when he died, his brother and his wife basically made Miller Raper and his mum and his brother and sister, I think, basically slaves.
Mm.
Few bad things happened, and Miller Raper's mum said, because the dark arts were massive in Tibet as well, like the black dharmas, right? That were practiced by lamas, by monks. And they said, his mum said, Miller Raper, you go learn to master the dark arts. So, and when I see you again, you're either going to be able to cast spells on those that have hurt our family, and if you have not mastered it, your mum will kill herself. He basically went, found a dark practitioner, learned the art of sorcery, came back for his mum, always had a good heart. If you listen to stories of him when he was a kid, and he cast a spell that killed, I think, 27 people, including his uncle. And then he actually cast another spell that created a storm that wiped out crops for a whole village. But he always had a burning desire. He knew he'd done wrong. He was trying to help his mum, but he knew he'd done wrong, and he wanted to find a master that could purify his karma. When he met Marpa knew on a spiritual level that he could attain enlightenment in this life, even after he'd killed so many people and caused so much suffering. And their journey together is a fascinating journey. Basically, Marpa just was horrific to Miller Raper. He'd pretend he was drunk, and he'd say, I need you to build me a dwelling over there, a castle. I want it to be 3 stories high, this, that, and the other. And Miller Raper would start building it. He'd have literally blisters all over him, sores, bad back, the full hip. And then when it was nearly completed, Marpa would say, what are you doing, you idiot? I never told you I wanted to take it down. And he would just constantly do this. So on one level, it looks very cruel, but on a spiritual level, he's trying to purify his disciples' karma in one lifetime. So, these stories are very rich, and this isn't that far back. This isn't like a myth story. This is the beginning of one of the branches of one of the lineages in Tibet. I think it's the lineage from that Chogyam Trungpa is a part of, actually.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. A beautiful, well, she was a really beautiful lady. I worked with this lady for almost 8 years, or about 5 years, when I worked at Legal Services. And she, for some reason, she just took it to bully me. And I knew her in the Italian community, and it was so sad because I didn't want to say anything, but and look, I suffered. I truly suffered, but she was asked to be removed. She was, they would talk to her and they removed her. They did this. I chose not to say anything, but only a few years later, she's passed away. And I always ask for forgiveness. I always feel really bad. And I was always the same with her, knowing that whatever's happened, for whatever reason she needed to do what she needed to do. I don't know why, but in her life now, but I never treated her differently even after that. But yeah, she passed away in a very sad state, very ill, in a very painful way her illness was. And so I always feel really sad.
It's karma's more complicated than I hit you, you'll hit me in a future life. But we should always reflect on if there's a situation like that we've done it to them, and then because it's definitely, if you think, well, whatever they're putting me through, I'll put them through. then the compassion's allowed to flow, you know. But there's definitely new karma that can be made as well. I heard Master Shasta share a story about Master Guo. Master Guo had a cousin that actually was always trying to create a lot of challenges for Master Guo. And when he died, fascinating story, because Master Guo was the third eye man, incredible third eye. He was one that opened up Master Sha's third eye, like big time. And when news came that his cousin who challenged Master Guo for so long, yeah, I don't know what he did, but I can only imagine he did some bad things, like pretty cruel things to try and stop. Because on that level as well, I don't know what he did, so I'm not putting a story together. But if you were to stop Master Guo's practice, he literally healed hundreds of thousands of people. You know what I mean? So there's a big karmic debt there. I mean, there's one thing is testing somebody, but actually trying to stop somebody practicing the Dhamma is big karma there. But when he died, Master Guo said to Master Sha, I said, Jigang, watch what happens to his soul. And Master Sha said, heaven's generals put his soul in handcuffs and actually carted them off. So yeah, you know, these are just all cool stories. God bless his soul. I hope he's okay. But let's do a practice, unless there's any other questions you want to ask. No, okay. So I've gone back to this book. It's an awesome book. It's Thich Nhat Hanh's The Other Shore. Well worth a buy. Really is a lovely book. He wrote, my Buddhist teacher sent me the Heart Sutra sang in English years ago, and I really liked it, but I just didn't pay much attention to it. And I was reading this again, and I was seeing his Thich Nhat Hanh's translation. He's changed the translation to suit a Western audience slightly, so it makes a bit more sense. And I'll read it out. And then I put two and two together and I thought, no way, that was the mantra that my Buddhist teacher sent me years ago. So we're going to listen to it because it's nice to hear a mantra chanted in English, I think. There's not many out there. So the Heart Sutra is the insight that brings us to the other shore. So I'll read this out. Let's get into a meditative space. Get comfortable. Rest your awareness on your breath. Both hands over your lower abdomen. A lot of talking, a lot of information. Drop it all. Drop it all. Don't cling to any of it. Even the things that have saved you, even the things that you think that's a good story, or that made a lot of sense, that answered my question, or you might be thinking that didn't answer my question. Nick didn't explain it very well. I feel more confused now, blah, blah, blah. Just drop it all. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Shifus, spiritual masters, the divine, the Tao, heaven, earth, human beings, and all life. All divine Tao treasures, downloads, orders, soul and body transplants, calligraphies, saints, animals, healing treasures within. All of our ancestors, anyone we've ever hurt or harmed, or who's hurt or harmed us, please join us in this practice. And just as you stay with the breath, I'm actually going to share a conversation I had with Bo this week, because it's just come to me and it was a really good insight. And it just came to me now to share it with you guys, but it was a good insight on explaining the power of calligraphies. Bo said to me, Dad, why are swear words called swear words or curses, right? Now, we all know that spelling, okay, is you can cast a spell with writing. If disasters come from our speech, you know, this is how I explained it to Bo, if you're having an argument with someone, people who I love in my life, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, my wife, Bo, even if I've ever been angry, I've never said something I'd regret. I've never said I hate them if I don't. I've never said anything like that. So when we look at swear words, although they're just words, if someone really upset you and you said, you really upset me there, and you said it angrily, if you said you are a effing blah, 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 Master Shah says that those words have a low vibration. The intention and the meaning of them can really damage. I know if I would have ever said anything like that to my mom, she'd never forget it, just as I'd never forget it if she said it to me. Therefore, disasters come from our speech, and it's like putting a curse on someone, okay? Now, Master Shah has said, still on that same point, they knew years ago, they still know today, that if someone reads something, I don't know what it is, but they're way more likely to believe it as truth than if they see it or on the TV, or they listen to it on the radio. You read something, you believe it's true. There's a power in writing. Master Shah says, yeah, that's why calligraphy is so sacred. Calligraphy can act as a doorway or a portal to bring the essence of higher frequencies in. And this is why every calligraphy he's ever wrote is a positive message. So I just thought I'd share that, because I think, including myself, we can take advantage or not see how calligraphies can be so sacred. So I'll just thank Bo for asking that question. So I'm going to read the Heart Sutra, and then I'm going to play it. So Avalokiteshvara is Guan Yin. While practicing deeply with the insight that brings us to the other shore, suddenly discovered that all of the 5 skandhas are equally empty of a separate self. And with this realization, there's no he or she in the Bodhisattva, in the spiritual realm, he overcame all ill being. Listen, Sariputra. He's telling Sariputra, this body itself is emptiness, and emptiness itself is this body. This body is not other than emptiness, and emptiness is not other than this body. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Sariputra, all phenomena bear the mark of emptiness. Their true nature is the nature of no birth, no death, no being, no non-being, no defilement, no purity, no increasing, no decreasing. Master Shah says it's about the Tao. The Tao cannot be increased or decreased. That is why in emptiness, body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousnesses are not separate self-entities. The 18 realms of phenomena, which are the 6 sense organs, the 6 sense objects, and the 6 consciousnesses, are also not separate self-entities. The 12 links of interdependent arising and their extinction are also not separate self-entities. Ill being, the cause of ill being, the end of ill being, the path, insight, and attainment are also not separate self-entities. Whoever can see this no longer needs anything to attain. Bodhisattvas who practice the insight that brings us to the other shore see no more obstacles in their mind and become there. And because there are no more obstacles in their mind, they can overcome all fear, destroy all wrong perceptions, and realize perfect nirvana. All Buddhas in the past, present, and future, by practicing the insight that brings us to the other shore, are capable of attaining authentic and perfect enlightenment. Therefore, Sariputra, it should be known that the insight that brings us to the other shore is a great mantra, the most illuminating mantra, the highest mantra, a mantra beyond compare. The true wisdom that has the power to put an end to all kinds of suffering. Therefore, let us proclaim a mantra to praise the insight that brings us to the other shore. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. So gate, gate, gone, gone, paragate, way gone, far gone. Parasamgate, completely gone. Bodhisvaha has been translated as hallelujah, enlightenment, and even so be it. Okay, so this mantra we can chant both in Sanskrit or in English. Okay, gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gone, gone, far gone, completely gone, so be it. Gone, gone, far gone, completely gone. Hallelujah. Gone, gone, far gone, completely gone. Hallelujah, or enlightened. So we'll play the mantra. So stay in a meditative space. Stay with the breath. It's a beautiful mantra. I'll have to just share with you guys, share screen. And I'll mute myself and just feel the Shen Qi Jing, the essence of this mantra.
Nick, you're muted, my love. Nick, I don't know whether you can hear us, but you're muted.
Can't hear you, Nick.
Sorry, guys. I thought you were hearing it on YouTube. I'll play it again. You wasn't meant to hear me singing. I was just reading along. But I'll play it again. Sorry, guys.
The insight that brings us to the other shore. Avalokiteshvara, while practicing deeply with the insight that brings us to the other shore, suddenly discover that all of the 5 skandhas are equally empty, and with this realization he overcame all will-being. Listen, Shariputra, this body itself is emptiness, and emptiness itself is this body. This body is not other than emptiness, and emptiness is not other than this body. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Shariputra, phenomena bear the mark of emptiness. Their true nature is the nature of no birth, no death, no being, no non-being, no defilement, no purity, no increasing, no decreasing. That is why in emptiness, body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness are not separate self-entities. The 18 realms of phenomena, which are the 6 sense organs, 6 sense objects, and 6 consciousnesses, are also not separate self-entities. The 12 links of interdependent arising and their extinction are also not separate self-entities. You being the causes of ill-being, the end of ill-being, the path, insight, and attainment are also not separate self-entities. Whoever can see this no longer needs anything to attain. Bodhisattvas who practice the insight that brings us to the other shore see obstacles in their mind, and because there are no more obstacles in their mind, they can overcome all fear, destroy our own perceptions, and realize perfect nirvana. All Buddhas in the past, present, and future, by practicing the insight that brings us to the other shore, are capable of attaining authentic and perfect enlightenment. Therefore, Shariputra, it should be known that the insight that brings us to the other shore is a great mantra, the most illuminating mantra, the highest mantra, a mantra beyond compare, the true wisdom that has the power to put an end to all kinds of suffering. Therefore, let us proclaim a mantra to praise the insight that brings us to the other shore. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva.
Sorry about that. The first round, you wasn't meant to hear me singing. I'm still learning it, you see. We'll stay with that mantra. We'll chant a few rounds and I'll offer it as a blessing. So dear all spiritual transmissions and calligraphies I have, please offer everyone on the line appropriate blessing by divine thou will to help them as appropriate. To bless their soul journey. Gate, gate, param gate, parasam gate, bodhisvaha. Gone, gone, completely gone. Far gone, so be it. Enlightenment. To go beyond the bitter sea. To go to the other shore of enlightenment, nirvana. Blessing start. Gate, gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhisvaha, 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 Gate, Gate, Paragate, Paragate, Bodhisvaha. Dear Guan Shi and Pusa, please bless everyone on the line as appropriate. Namo Guan Shi and Pusa. Namo Guan Shi and Pusa. Namo Guan Shi Pusa. Namo Guan Shi Yen Pusa. Stay with the breath. And let the frequency and vibration of Guan Yin and the higher realms, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, let their frequency and vibration through the calligraphies as well change our field, purify our frequency and vibration, and uplift our field. Open yourself up to receive and surrender, but drop all techniques now. Just be here now. Blessing and please rest. Next week we will continue on with the texts. It's a Tao 1 text. I usually do a bit of homework and a bit of preparing for these, but I've just been busy last week. Any more questions you have through the week or now, you can ask them. I appreciate everyone on the line. I love you all very much. I apologize for that first round of playing. I clicked the share button, but I never share sound, but I never actually pressed the share button. So you must have just been in silence. You wasn't meant to hear me. I'm still learning the mantra I was singing while reading. But it is a beautiful mantra, very powerful mantra. And if there is no sharing, please share or ask any questions. If there's no sharing, we can close for the night.
Thank you, Nick. I really enjoyed the silence.
Nice.
I went deep, very, very deep. And yeah, it was lovely.
You know, and everything happens for a reason. As soon as I got on that was happening, that actually made me chuckle inside. I thought, there you go. Maybe we needed silence.
Yes, I heard you say you were going to mute, and I thought we were meant to be sitting in silence
Yeah,
until I saw you put the book down.
yeah, no, that's everything's perfect. Anyone want to share anything or ask any questions, or are we closing?
Thank you so much, Nick. I'd like to see the words of the mantra.
Yeah, I'll
I'll-
send them in the group now.
Thank you. Lovely.
Okay, all good, guys. Well, have a beautiful week. And those that are doing the Derby Joe, which I think is everyone here, we'll see you Thursday. And yeah, let me know if you ever need me, if there's anything I can help you with, just let me know. I love and appreciate you all. We say how, thank you. Love you. Gong, song.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much.